Hi guys, and welcome, gnembon here. In today's video I'll share you a few little tricks with 113 water mechanics that might not be super new, but I thought they are definitely worth sharing, especially if you attach a specific use case to it where they work really well. First has to do with waterlogged blocks like stairs or trapdoors that would prevent water from spilling on one of their sides without the need of extra supportive blocks. This is really useful on its own, but they also count as valid water blocks for various kinds of plants, one of them being the sugarcane. So this is my flying machine operated sugarcane farm from episode 13 of my Fun Farm series, where I made use of that mechanic to be able to squeeze maximum density of sugarcane on a field, yet still have automatic way of harvesting and collecting, which is pretty sweet. And because I use stairs here, we can also walk here without any problem, without jumping up and down and falling into water pits. It was possible to squeeze a rail below this kind of a sugarcane layout before, but it was quite tedious to do so, so I opted for a simplified 2-row setup instead. But in this case it doesn't matter, waterlogged stairs make it simple as well, and we can have this super efficient setup here without stretching our muscles too much, which is really sweet. The other tip I have for you guys would be on a strategy that you can use to fill up a ridiculous amount of space with water source blocks, not even flowing water, but proper source blocks. In 113 you can build nicely underwater, but only if you work with proper sources. So in my Fun Farms kelp farm video, I shared a tip with you that growing kelp replaces flowing water blocks with kelp plant blocks that can be then broken, leaving water sources. While this might not be the simplest way of obtaining a single column of water sources, I still think breaking ice from top to bottom is much more practical in this regard. The use of kelp to do that turned out actually to be pretty popular these days. But where the use of kelp shines is where we have to grow a lot of it to make a lot of water, when we can rely on natural kelp growth to replace our manual work. So what we have here is a 100 by 100 by 100 basin that we would like to fill with source blocks, so 1 million of them. We could bucket it layer by layer, flooding each individual layer starting from the bottom, but that would be very tedious. If done perfectly, we would need to bucket the water 10,000 times, which would likely take several painful and boring hours to do so. Other way to do it would be using ice, creating 2 sets of columns on 2 sides spaced 2 apart, and either break them all starting from the top, or light up it somehow to let the ice melt on its own. But again, that would be 10,000 ice, which you need to collect first and place it, then break it, or figure out the way to place some light sources next to it. So it will probably take you more time to do than with the bucket method. This kelp strategy, if all goes to plan, shouldn't take more than 15 minutes, and it's not as boring as placing blocks. However, I'm not here counting the time you need to AFK in between to let the kelp grow, which I think is fair. With this size of a tank, you'd probably mean that you need to do it in 5 batches, so stepping out of your computer 5 times, which is completely fine. In this demo I'll be speeding up the random tick rate just to get it grown faster, but in proper survival you'd want to let the game run on its own a bit instead. But as I said, I measured it myself, and this strategy took me about 15 minutes of actual manual work. And for that you don't need a lot of stuff really. For this size of a tank, little over a stack of ice, torches, and a few stacks of kelp plants. I also gave myself some food, some depth strider shoes, and a conduit power, a really early game water breathing solution. Just find a treasure chest, AFK fish for a little while to get all the Nautilus shells, snag a few blocks from an ocean monument with cow's milk, and that's it. Probably easier to do than getting a potion setup running. To start, you would want to place ice blocks every 3rd block on 2 sides of the tank, and then place torches next to the ice to let it melt. That would create walls of flowing water on the sides that you need to have kelp growing into it. By the time you finish the 2nd side, most of the ice on the 1st one should be melted already. So now jump to the bottom and start on the side that you started first, and start placing kelp starting from the corner. Place them on every other block. So what is important, you would want to take your time placing kelp and making sure that the age parameter of the kelp you're placing is, let's say, below 10. Kelp has a predefined height it grows into, which is specified when it's placed, or broken, which is a random number between 0 and 24. And every time the kelp grows, it increases it by 1, so up to 25. So a kelp with 24 will grow only once, and a kelp with 0 will grow up to 25 blocks high. If you make sure that all the age of kelp starts below 10, this means that the average starting age is 5, and on average our kelp will grow 20 blocks at a time, flooding 20 layers at once. So if you, for example, know that your room is, let's say, 15 height, you can do it in just one go, just making sure that all the kelp can reach to the top in one growth. But if it's more than that, we'll just need to do it in stages. To reset the growth, you don't need to just replant it. You can just add an extra one, or you can just break the top one, and the new current top stem will reset to a new age parameter. One annoyance is the fact that the age is either reset twice per plant, or several clients are doing two different things, because you would see this number here blinking for a split second, but you can't really do anything about it. So once all the kelp is planted, that's the time to go AFK. In this case, I'll speed up the tick rate to get the instant effect, but you will just need to walk away if you want to do it in proper survival. So now it looks great with this water flooding, but it won't look that awesome in a real game, where it will be only flooding layer by layer according to the growth of the kelp plants in the very corner where the water starts spreading. But that's just a minor detail. So when the water stops spreading, all the kelp plants are fully grown and they won't grow anymore unless you mess up with their tips. And that's what you want to do. You want to start from the corner and reset their growth limits. For plants that end up growing a little bit less, you would want to add a few kelp bits still trying to get the age at or below 10. And with the plants that grew much taller, you can trim them by a few blocks. This would replenish your kelp in your inventory to add to the shorter plants and also reset their growth as well. Since all the sides are fully flooded, it means that you can easily swim in them without the risk of being taken out of the water. So when you trim and add all the endings to the existing kelp, each time you do that, each AFK session should increase the water sources level in the tank by about 20 blocks. Sometimes when your AFK session is over, you may realize that you forgot about one plant that stopped the flooding for the entire layer, and that's not a big problem. You can just manually fill the missing kelp blocks of that plant to let the plant keep up with the other ones. So in this case, I repeated the procedure 5 times with 5 kelp growing periods and reached to the top. A few missing water sources at the end can be filled manually either by adding a few kelp plants manually, or with a bucket at the very top. And that's it. So now you should have this 1 million water source blocks filled for any of your underwater building space done with relatively low effort. So that would be it, guys, for today. That was a little bit of a shorter and simpler video. I'm currently on vacation with little time to spare for anything, but I thought these 2 tips are definitely worth sharing with all of you guys. In terms of the major projects, I hope to have all the garden stuff finished next. However, with the new bubble columns, that changes a lot how much simpler and much more effective garden farms can be. So I definitely need to include that as well. Just check this out. If I just flip the design here with the portal, it's pretty much instant, which means that in my guess we should be getting about 500,000-600,000 jobs with one account, and that's just bonkers. And the same bubble column principle would be applicable to my small overworld only guardian farm. Just need to flip it upside down and we should be getting guardians much faster with much simpler, cheaper and easier to build design. So that's my proper plans for the future. But as I said, I'm currently on vacation, so it'll take a moment, but stay tuned and be patient. So I hope you all liked my 2 small 113 warrior tips and their cool applications. So, if you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave me a like, leave me a comment in the comment section below, subscribe if you're new, and see you in the next one. Bye bye!